Bannister and bring him back to stand trial for shooting Cletus Slocum. At least the disagreement had been about something worthwhile, Andy thought. Too many men had been killed quarreling over such trivial matters as whiskey, cards, or dance hall girls. A horse was a different matter. A good horse might well justify a righteous killing. Extension of rails across the state had given Ranger efficiency a strong boost in these early 1880s. No matter how fast he traveled, a fugitive couldn't outrun the telegraph, and now he had to contend with the railroad as well. Rangers could put their horses on a train and cover distances in hours that would otherwise keep them in the saddle for days. They could move ahead of a fleeing suspect and cut him off, or at least rush to wherever he'd last been seen and shorten his lead. That was Andy's mission on this trip. To the best of his knowledge, he'd never seen Bannister. He had a physical description of the man, however, in the handwritten fugitive book he carried in his pocket. Tall, husky, with pale gray eyes, and a small scar on his left cheekbone, where a mule had once kicked him. Probably a bit crazy, too. A kick in the head could do that to a man, and nothing could kick harder than a mule. The train chugged to a stop at a siding beside a tower upon which stood a large wooden water tank. Andy climbed down to stretch his aching legs and beheld the largest windmill he had ever seen. He judged its wheel to be 20 feet across, maybe 25. Locomotive boilers required a lot of water to produce steam. The windmill, vital to the railroads, had also done much to open up large areas of West Texas for settlement by farmers and ranchers. They provided water where nature had neglected to do so. He'd recently placed a smaller mill over a hand-dug well on acreage he'd bought in the hill country west of San Antonio. Someday, when he'd saved enough, he planned to resign from the Rangers again, build a house beside the windmill, and move there with Bethel. It was a good grass country for cattle, and several people had brought in sheep. Andy had no prejudice against woolies. They seemed to thrive, so long as their owner could fight off the wolves and coyotes and bobcats. These had a strong taste for lambs. The thought of Bethel brought both warmth and pain. Stationed in a ranger camp near a former Army post town, Fort McCavitt, he'd rented a small house at the edge of the settlement. There she was able to grow a garden and raise chickens. He'd spent nights with her when he was not away on duty. He realized this wasn't the customary way for a young couple to begin married life. Too often he had to kiss her goodbye and ride away without knowing when he might return. Looking back, which he always did, he would see her small figure standing there, waving, watching him, until he was beyond sight. He had warned her at the beginning that as a ranger's wife, she would spend many days and nights alone, waiting, wishing. But he wondered if she'd fully understood how often she would have only a flock of chickens and a brown dog for company. He even wondered if he should have put off marriage until he could provide her with a more stable home. But both had waited a long time already, almost beyond endurance. He hoped he could capture the fugitive quickly and get back to her. A dispatch had indicated that Bannister could probably make a strong case for self-defense if he'd stayed in Junction and faced trial. But he'd chosen to run. So he was playing hell with Andy's married life. The train's black-uniformed conductor walked down the line after seeing that the boiler was properly filled. Pulling out his pocket watch and checking the time, he said, "We'll be pulling out in a couple of minutes, Ranger. Ought to be in Colorado City in an hour." "Good," Andy said. "The sooner there, the sooner I can get my business done and go home." The conductor gave him a quizzical smile. "I'll bet you've got a young wife waiting for you. That'd account for your constipated look." Andy's face warmed. I didn't know it showed. "I know the signs from personal experience. Seems like I've been married since I was 6 years old." Andy asked, "How do you handle it, being away from home so much?"